So, hi Brian, my name is Patrick, and thanks for this interview.
No problem.
And yeah, at the beginning I have to say I'm not a professional PvP player.
Sure.
Normally it's more the PvP side. Back in Classic, I've done a lot PvP in the ranking system, the old one.
Yep.
But you bring the PvP in World of Warcraft to a new life. What can a player expect in Warlords of Draenor?
It's funny because I even tweeted this lately. This is like the theme, the message I've heard like countless times this BlizzCon when I've talked to people is, oh, I used to PvP, or oh, I don't really PvP, but oh, what you guys are doing is kind of interesting to me in a new way. And I think what's resonating is our Ashran feature. I think that generally for the person who maybe is not interested in PvP in the past, that is appealing to them because Ashran, I think, is really what WoW PvP like people kind of expect. It's the world of Warcraft, the character that you have, and the two factions battling it out, and players being a part of that. Now, just to kind of explain what Ashran is a zone that we've created in Draenor. And it's an island off the east side of the primary continent of Draenor. And on the north side is the Horde in their base, and called Warspear. And on the south side is the Alliance in their base called Stormshield. And essentially there's a road that kind of goes between the two forts on this island. And the Horde and Alliance are basically fighting back and forth over this island. And can bring tons of people in there. As many as we can support technically are going to be in there battling, earning rewards and doing all those things. And it kind of is throwback to two really original PvP concepts we had. One being Alterac Valley, when it originally came out, where it was kind of like this fight that lasted for like 3 days, and the other is like the South Shore Terran Mill experience, where players are just kind of battling it out in a big way between the two sides. So I think players that who used to do that Grand Marshal High Warlord grind back in the original day, like people who like that, Ashran, I think there's a lot of appeal to Ashran for people like that.
So Ashran, you queue for it like for Wintergrass?
It's a little different than Wintergrass. You actually, the two sides, the towns are kind of on the north and south side of it, but those from a, behind the scenes thing, those are on your own server, those cities, Warspear and Stormshield. Then you kind of run up this hill and you seamlessly transfer to another server, another instance that is just running Ashran proper. And what's great about that is now, since you aren't on the world server, we can support a lot more people. So when people run into the zone, they just, you run in, and if the server can support you being there, you go ahead and you're fighting. If it can't support you being there, or like we've kind of reached our upper limit, then you'll be queued up in a kind of a first come first served basis to go into Ashran next.
So if there is a lot of action in Ashran, it won't affect the rest of the server.
Yeah.
Is it cross-realm?
It is. So what we've done, it was really funny. We kind of paired up servers, and it was this kind of game of like, it was like the dating game for WoW servers. Like I was saying, okay, this server is a German-speaking PvP realm with a lot of Horde players. I need to go find a German-speaking realm with a lot of Alliance players, and then I would match them up and say, okay, when you go into Ashran, these two servers are going to go in together. And we did that so we could have pretty balanced numbers of people fighting out. We didn't want it to get into a situation where like one side was way more than the other.
Speaking of Wintergrass, I gone to Wintergrass every week because I wanted to go to the faction bosses.
The raid boss, yes.
Get my weekly loot. In Ashran, there's nothing like this.
No, we don't have a world boss per se, but we do have ways for you to earn honor and get gear that way, or Conquest, which can get you some pretty high-end gear. So, for instance, Conquest gear is eye level 60, I believe, which is pretty good gear. So if there's a way, if you want to go out and you want to grind some Conquest in Ashran, you can get some pretty decent gear for PvE that way. Yeah, you don't get that raid boss slot machine, but there are ways for you to get other gear that would help you in the PvE game.
So, do you think after time let's say in 2 months, there's still a reason for me to go into Ashran, because in the old days of Wrath of the Lich King, I have to go there because of the raid boss. But nowadays in raid boss, so why should I go to Ashran?
Well, you know, I think there will be a number of different reasons. One, you know, if we're talking about the end of a patch cycle where you've kind of maybe you've already progressed a lot, you may not even needed that raid boss at that point. You may go there just to, hey, I'm going to go get some PvP gear, and I'm going to try out PvP. I like Ashran. I want to get some better gear for Ashran, so that might be one reason that you go. Also, there's those coins. We have the coins that you use in your PvE raids to kind of bonus roll. Yeah. And those bonus roll tokens, they're provided in a quest sequence where you can turn in for them. Okay. So you can use like gold or honor or
Apexis shards,
I think Apexis shards, and you turn them in. And the one thing, the way that works is you could just turn in Apexis shards, Apexis shards, Apexis shards, but the amount that you have to turn in increases every time you do it. So it actually might be more efficient for you to just go to Ashran, get some honor, and then get the turn-in for your bonus roll.
Okay. And what do you have in mind for the future? Will Ashran get multiple updates? Of course, Wintergrasp got these new bosses, but Ashran don't have any bosses, so there must be something new.
Well, you know, there is some content in Ashran. On the West Island, there's this kind of arena where there's a lot of like elite bosses, like very lucrative bosses, and they take a lot of effort for players. Like you need like a 5-man group with a proper healer and a tank to take these guys down. And so there's that opportunity. And we also have the opportunity to just create new bosses that we put in different parts of the world. There are parts of Ashran that aren't populated. We have the whole East Coast. And, you know, we've kind of left a lot of hints in the game, a lot of dialogue about the mines in Ashran. There are 2 mines, one on the Horde side, one on the Alliance side, and they're currently sealed. But there's a lot of conversation about what's down there, you know, what's going on. And, you know, maybe the Horde and Alliance are going to kind of dig in underground and try to find something underneath. So there's a lot of opportunity for us to expand Ashran, both underneath the world and on the east coast of it.
Okay. We spoke before about the faction hubs in Ashran on both sides, and are they on purpose so that the people come back to Ashran and might join a fight, or what?
Well, it certainly fits the kit of the story of Ashran and the fight, where players went off to the Dark Portal, they were fighting there, and they kind of had to retreat to somewhere, so they retreated to this island off the coast where they could kind of...
the Dark Portal, so it's behind so the Dark Portal, the island.
Exactly, so they're kind of regathering their strength there, and it definitely is a situation where it is advantageous for Ashran for players to be able to just run up there, and you know the kit makes sense. Oh, this is a battle going on between the Horde and Alliance, so we have this area, this War Spear and Storm Shield are kind of militarized, and people are getting ready for the fight. So it just fit the kit really well.
Okay, so the backstory is mainly they fled from the
portal, the
Tanan jungle is the zone called, and go to this island just up the Tanan jungle, and cut on both sides of the island and build their locations there.
Okay.
Interesting. That I was trying to understand why they are on this island.
Right. And you know, there's just kind of this sense of like there's a lot of tension that goes on between the 2 factions, and you know when you're staring in peace, you're staring down with guns pointed at each other. Somebody trips, fires the gun, and now you're in full war. So that's the type of situation we're in.
Okay. With Warlords of Draenor, you don't wipe the honor the guys got in Mists of Pandaria. Do you think that could be problematic for the PvE section? Because the PvP items you can buy with honor at the start is really good. I guess kind of item level you don't...
I don't know, I did.
Yeah, so one of the cool things we've done with the gear, we were in a situation with PvP gear in the past where we have 2 very different goals for PvE and PvP gear. PvE gear, we want it to be something you go in, you get it randomly, it makes you feel stronger and stronger. That doesn't really fit for PvP, where players want to be rewarded for the participation and be competitive. And so we had those two conflicting design goals with gear. So something we've done new with the gear in Draenor is all the PvP gear, rather than having stats like PvP power and resilience, which frankly were a little confusing for players. Yeah. You know, how do I compare this 550 gear with 5% extra damage against 570 gear? It was tough for people. So now in PvP gear, it just has a second eye level that activates. And so if I have, and I think in the case of Honor gear, it's something like 600 is the item level, and it has a bonus 60 eye levels for PvP. So in PvE case, it's actually not that great. I don't think 600 is anything too tremendous, but 660 is very good for PvP. Because I think the top best PvP gear is 690. So we were able to kind of, with this, kind of, kill the PvP gear where it needs to be killed, but buff it where it needs to be buffed. So I think in that situation we should be okay.
Okay. You spoke about the balance with the item squish and all the different damage style and the health pools. Is the reason for the really still high health pools the PvP?
Yeah, generally we were retuning health. And we wanted to get rid of resilience, which reached really high levels. Yeah. We just kind of had this situation where the amount of damage a player did and the amount of health that they had, they weren't growing at the same rate, and they still really aren't. So we reached a point where players were doing 80% less damage against a player target, which is very extreme. If I hit 100, that basically means if I throw a 100k spell at you, it hits your 20k. Very weird. It feels. So we doubled the health, we made changes to healing and damage appropriately, and that kind of allows us to not have that resilience. And that's why those health pools at level 100 in very good gear are, kind of in early mop levels.
Okay. So will the fight change? Just, let's say, arena fight, will it change with the new health pools? Will it last longer, or is it about the same cause in MOP there was the resilience?
Well, we have very similar goals with healing and damage in PvP and PvE as we move into Draenor, which was to slow it down a little bit. We like the idea of players kind of not having to stress that everybody's not at full health all the time, because someone could die in a matter of 4 seconds. We wanted players to be able to respond a bit better, and that's why we made a lot of adjustments in healing and PvE, and they actually benefit the PvP game as well. So players, the amount of damage they take and the amount of healing they get, the health bars aren't going from full to not full to full. They're kind of lingering a little bit more in the middle, which we think is healthier for the game.
I guess earlier this year there was a blog about a spectator mode in PvP. I'm not quite sure what happened to it. I think it's not in the...
so our intention with the spectator, it's really funny because you could say a spectator feature, and I think a lot of people have different ideas about what that means. The primary goal for us was, hey, there are people out there who want to run tournaments for WoW in both Battlegrounds and arenas. What can we do to allow them to do that in the live game? And so there's actually... We kind of did it. We kind of figured the person who's going to run this tournament, they're fairly savvy, and they can handle maybe the system that's not fully like UI'd. So there's actually a slash command. It's like /invite spectator match or spectate match, and that allows a person like me to then invite 2 other people, and now I'm spectating their match. And it does work, and you can use custom UI for it if you'd like. So that you can see both the teams, but it all does work. We just are kind of building on it slowly and surely. Now, a system where it's like, oh, hey, you see my friend is in arena, I want to right-click and watch his games. That isn't something we're especially going after right now. We feel like there's a lot of cost. That's one of those features that takes a lot to do, because especially since you don't want that to be an advantage. Like, it would be pretty bad if somebody spectating my match is whispering in my ear, like, use your cooldown now, oh, he's doing this, right? Yeah. So you kind of have to delay it. You have to put like a 10-15 second delay, and so we're not talking about a small technical feat here. And when we're kind of living in the age of Twitch TV, where people are watching and spectating their favorite players anyway, it's questionable whether that's necessary.
Okay. Yeah.
For the cost, the benefits and costs.
But it's in the game.
Yeah. So the spectate match is in the game, and also the tournament gear is in the game. Which anybody can buy this tournament gear for some gold, And then in the War Games spectate match feature, you can say, I want this to be a tournament rules match, and that means only the tournament gear works. So everybody is just equal gearing right off the bat.
So we can start to do Warzone tournaments.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Speaking about battlegrounds, are there any plans to add new battlegrounds or even arenas?
Yeah, there are. I think we have some plans. We'd like to look at some of our older battlegrounds and arenas and to maybe clean them up a bit. Like, if you look at Blade's Edge, Nagrand, it's gotten a bit dated over the years, and we're kind of revisiting Nagrand now. We're revisiting Blade's Edge, in Gorgrond. So maybe it's an opportunity for us to, fresh up those arenas a little bit and theme them towards Draenor. Because we're getting to a point where you kind of question whether adding another arena, well, not so much arenas, there's not that many arenas, but adding another battleground to the mix, now you just have more battlegrounds, right? And maybe we should focus on the ones that we have that maybe aren't so great. But one of the big things that we put our efforts in, that we would have put battlegrounds, was into Ashran. There are these dynamic events in Ashran throughout the outer zones, and they're basically battlegrounds. Like there's one where you have to collect a bunch of ore and turn it into your mine cart, and the first team to win gets a reward, some conquest, some gear. So in a way, Ashran is that big center lane, but it's also like 4 dynamic battlegrounds coming up at different times.
Are there any plans to remove one battleground playstyle from the game?
It's interesting. I always feel like there are people who are like, just remove this one, just remove that one. And
to my mind came Isle of Conquest. But
yeah. And then you find out there's somebody who's like, that's my favorite map, So it's really tough to remove things. I think we just probably have to try and improve the ones we have.
So you don't have any intention at the moment?
Not at the moment, no.
Okay. Yeah, I guess we have to go to the press conference.
Okay.
So we have to finish, but it was really fun.
Great, thank you.
Speaking with you.